with, I usually just do a whole batch. I start with a pound of hamburger. And of course, that's the natural. And then I add something that most people don't, and I don't know why. It's such an easy thing. I add bacon. Everybody should add bacon to their hamburgers. Try it. If you haven't tried it, I guarantee you, you'll love it. For a pound of hamburger, I tend to put about half that amount in bacon. It's actually a great filler. It's a wonderful, adds a lot to it. And by virtue of the bacon, when you do that, you don't have to add a lot more salt because the bacon itself is naturally salted. So be careful. Don't put a lot of extra salt. However, you don't need to worry about this. What we're doing here is we're showcasing my barbecue seasoning. This is the bold flavor. We have that for specifically for dark meats like beef and lamb, etc. This is about 3 tablespoons for this amount of meat. Seems to be perfect. Just put that in there. And for the meats, I generally like to put a little bit of oil in here. Reason why I do that because we won't be putting oil in the pan itself when we put the hamburger in there. That allows us to it to immediately start to sear on a hot pan. I'm going to start this pan. Another thing that I do that's something that I grew up with. I used cast iron skillets. If you haven't done that, also I recommend it. There's a lot of benefits to it. And one thing for a cast iron skillet, you generally you need to start to heat it beforehand because it takes a little bit of time to get to the temperature that you want. But the beauty about cast iron is it maintains the heat in a very steady fashion. That's why a lot of people like it. It's a little bit different if you're not used to cooking with them. But if you want to learn some more, you could look it up. Okay, the next item that I generally add with here is onions. I like lots of onions. Onions are a great opportunity if you like to add a lot of flavor to this because of the way they cook. There's about a cup worth. And sometimes I put less, sometimes I put this amount, but this time, this is what I've done. And now all you got to do is mix it. I put the oil, I put the seasoning, I put the onions, and we just mix it. Don't be afraid to use your hands. If you don't want to use your hands, you could use a spatula. But as long as your hands are clean, I just wash my hands, and I'll wash it directly afterwards. Don't be afraid. Oftentimes in cooking, it is the best way. It's a lot of times the easiest way to mix things. Don't be afraid. There's been a lot of propaganda on using your hands in cooking. As long as you keep your hands clean and don't use your hands for anything before you wash them, that's fine. That's what chefs do. Okay, you don't see a lot of rubber gloves in chef's kitchens necessarily. Okay, from here, this amount of meat is enough for 4 patties. And in true form, I gauge by the palm of my hand. And that generally is about the same amount. Flatten them out. And then put them aside. And then pinch off another about the size of my hand. And that's about a 1/4 pound. I think I've weighed them before. There's about a 1/4 pound, as you might see. Well, a little bit more because I put the bacon in there. We started off with a pound of hamburger and then added another 1/2 pound of bacon. So it's roughly about 1/3 of a pound. See, based on doing that, it's been doing this for a bit. They tend to be all about the same, and that is the key. Kind of, unless you want to pay special attention to how you're cooking them, try to make them the same size, same thickness, where they basically cook the same when you cook them. So here I'm going to rinse my hands. And by now the pan is hot. So the barbecue seasoning mix has a little bit of salt in there. It's got some spices and it's got a little. This is the bold edition, so it's a little more spicy. which is appropriate for beef. The beef will absorb that flavor. Okay, that's hot. Okay, perfect. So basically, again, just use your hands. I'm just going to do the searing. That's kind of important. Starts the meat flavor process. Searing is what creates flavor. I'll just put it in here. Put them close together because we're going to be. And basically, when I cook hamburgers, I just put a lid. Don't touch it. Don't move them around. When you place meters on hamburger on the patty, the searing is the important. You don't need to move it around until it's done. I generally, because I have the bacon in there, I generally cook it 5 minutes aside. Okay. Did 5 minutes on one side. I turned it over 5 minutes on the other. Now it's ready to done. Should be done. This is what they look like. Just put them on the plate. And this is how we eat hamburger. Don't need bread. That's a vegetable. And there's one more thing that we generally put on this plate, and that's mushroom or portobello mushroom. I like to cook those in the same pan just for a couple of minutes. I have some a little bit of salt and some garlic on that. It's just something that we really enjoy. Okay. Cook these a couple of minutes or a few minutes. Turn them over, and then they should be done. You don't need to cook these very long. Just enough. Soften them up a little bit and cook them. Infuse the flavor, and there you go. This is our bacon infused hamburger patties with portobello and fresh vegetable.